Hi, welcome to Cooking in the Hammer with Tina. We're going to be making stuffed olives. We will be using in the stuffed olives, of course, regular olives with pimento. The biggest olives you can find. I like to use the ones with the pimento because we're going to be using the pimento in the stuffing. We will be using tuna. You can use any kind of tuna you have. You can use tuna in oil, tuna in water, doesn't matter. Breadcrumbs, I use just plain old breadcrumbs because I like to season them myself. Onion, Romano cheese, if you have it, Parmesan cheese. I like to use a grated cheese. You could use, something else. It might be dry and, grateable. Garlic and salt, pepper, and I have, unfortunately, frozen parsley, but you could use fresh Italian parsley. Is fabulous as well. We will be breading them and freezing them and then deep frying them. So stay tuned and you'll see how this all comes together. So now we're going to take the pimento out of the olive. And it's very simple when you buy them like this, because all you do is give them a slice, pull the pimento out, and just put it to the side because you know what? We're going to be using this after. And there you go. You've got your olives ready to be stuffed. It's very simple if you buy these ones. Again, just give it a slice, pull the pimento out, give it a slice, and pull the pimento out. There you go. Okay, now you just take your can and you just drain all of the liquid out of it and put it into a bowl and start flaking it up really nice. Make sure that you mince up your garlic nice and fine, and you can add it to your stuffing mixture. Okay, now mince up your onion nice and fine and add it to your stuffing mixture. Okay, now with the pimento that you had inside of the olives, take only half of the pimento and mince it up nice and fine. That's only half of the pimento that you took out of the center of the olives. Mince them up nice and fine and add them to your stuffing. Now here is your tuna, drained and flaked. Flake it up nice and fine. I'll flake it up even further. You can throw that in together with your stuffing as well. So now what you can do, see there's big chunks, just take it with your fingers. It's probably the best way. And just flake her up nice and thin. If you don't want to do it with your fingers, do it with the fork. But I like getting my hands in here. It works really, really well. Now into your stuffing you can add breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese, and grated Romano cheese. And we now add our eggs to the stuffing mixture. You can now add your parsley, a very small amount of salt because you have salted cheese and tuna in there, and as much pepper as you really like. And at this point you could add pepper flakes. I did not. Or any herbs that you really love. You can put them in. Okay, now at this point we have everything in our stuffing mixture, and you can mix it up. You can do this with a spatula, a wooden spoon, or with your hands, which is how I like to do. Get the consistency. We may want to add something in the end if it's not quite to the consistency that we want. But when I'm done mixing, I will show you once again what it looks like. I've mixed it. It looks dry, but you know what? It's not, because see, when you put it together and it holds, you want it to hold, basically. So, it's going to be like that. It's going to be kind of on the small side. And then what you do is you're going to open her up and put her in. That's a little bit too much. I didn't like the way that one came out. Just as long as it doesn't fall out and it's not too wet, that's pretty much how you're going to stuff the olive. Let's try that again. Get that? I like to make a little ball. Open up the olive. And in it goes. And that's it. That's the stuffing part of it. If it's too dry, you can add more eggs. If it's too wet, you can increase your breadcrumbs, your cheese, whatever you need to get the consistency. But this is going to hold together quite nicely. And then once you bread it, it'll be perfect. All right, now I've set up my drenching station here, and it will consist of flours, eggs, and breadcrumbs. I've seasoned the breadcrumbs with Italian parsley, Romano cheese, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. You can add whatever seasonings that you like. I've sometimes put dried oregano and dried basil in it. Whatever you have on hand, whatever you feel like having. And then what will happen is we will take the olives, we will coat them in the flour, and then we'll take them and put them in the, we'll scramble up these eggs, and then we'll do them in the breadcrumbs, and we'll put them on a tray and put them in the freezer. It's very important that you put them in the freezer before you cook them. Okay, now it's time for us to bread the olives. So we've stuffed them, and it is time to do them in flour. From that point, just dunk them up in the flour, and then give them a nice swirl. Make sure you get them all swirled up in the eggs. You don't want any of that flour coming through. And then pop them into the breadcrumbs, like so. And then from here, I'm just going to drench them up real nice with the breadcrumbs. And then put them on your tray. I've lined mine with parchment paper. You don't have to, because when they're in the freezer, they're fine. But I just like to do that so that I can make sure that they don't stick. I don't like the way that came out, so I'm going to re-egg it and re-bread. And it's just got a nice fine coating on there. And there are your stuffed olives breaded, ready for the freezer. Once they are frozen solid, they will be ready to be deep fried. Stay tuned. Okay, so now the olives are frozen solid, and this is the best way to cook them. So what I've done here is I've gotten some canola oil. You can use any kind of light oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, whatever you like. Don't use olive oil. That would be too heavy. And you want it to be ready, and I can tell when it's ready when the bubbles are coming up from the wooden spoon. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plop my olives in there. You can hear them. And, I mean, everything in there is pretty much cooked. So you just want this to cook right through. And then we want them to get really lovely and golden brown. Don't want to put too many in there. And it shouldn't take too long for them to cook. Okay, so it looks like they're ready. So they've got that beautiful brown color. So I just like to get them and put them onto a paper towel. Drain the oil out of them. And you know what? They are all ready. You gotta let them cool down though, because they are hot. Really, really, really hot. They are lovely. See the beautiful color on them? And that's what you want to see. And this way you know that they've cooked through.